today, folks?
Time flies too fast that it is already the month of May. May is known to be a fire prevention month, and during this time, we from the Bureau of Fire Protection tends to give and spread awareness to the people on how to prevent the occurrence of fire in our homes and other places.
You know, small traces or sources can cause the whole area to burn if not responded fast. So today, we would like to discuss to you the fire tetrahedron or the fire triangle, such as its definition, importance, and how to determine or how to apply it in our home.
So, a fire triangle is a model composed of three components needed to create and sustain a fire. The three components that the fire triangle refers are the heat, fuel, and oxygen. A way that we can prevent a fire to happen is by removing one of these three components. We are going to tackle the three components, and to do that, my partner will take over the place.
First is the heat. Heat refers to the hot temperature in a place. You know, a source of heat is required for ignition of fire to occur, and different materials have different flash points or lowest temperature at which they ignite.
Second is the fuel. Fuel refers to the things that can easily create fires. Homes and business offices are full of flammable materials such as paper, oil, wood, and fabrics. Any of these can serve as a fuel for a fire. Some materials can burn more easily than others. Fuels are probably the most difficult side of the fire triangle to remove. So it's wise to store them appropriately to prevent them from becoming a fire hazard.
Third is the oxygen. An oxygen is needed to sustain the combustion reaction or a substance that reacts with oxygen. An oxygen or an oxidizing agent is needed as it reacts with burning fuel to release heat and carbon dioxide. The Earth's atmosphere consists of 21% of oxygen, so there are plenty available to trigger a fire if the other two components are present.
It is important to know and have a proper knowledge about fire triangle. If we have enough information, we can prevent fire, destruction, and prevent loss of valuable things and human lives.
Now that you know the fire triangle, as you arrive in your home, please do apply the things that you've learned from the discussion, like seek fuel things such as papers and fabrics that lies in heat or high temperature areas, because if these two are present, it may produce fire because oxygen lies everywhere.
We don't need to remove the heat and oxygen from the fire triangle because it's impossible to do that. The components that we must remove is the fuel. We should place the fuel things in the appropriate place, and also the things that can ignite a fire, such as the match. It should be placed in the area where the children can't reach. We must be mindful,
responsible,
and aware that as long as we can prevent the hazard from turning into disaster,
we should prevent it. And in that way, we can cause problems to ourselves and to others by causing destructive disaster.
Good day everybody, I'm Paul Matthew O. Tagalog from STEM A1 Group 2, and I'm here today to give a lecture on how to use fire extinguishers. But first, let me define a fire extinguisher for you. Both fire extinguishers contain agent under stored pressure. They all operated in a similar manner. Before attempting to use a fire extinguisher, you should become acquainted with the ones located near your workplace or classroom. The label of each fire extinguisher contains instructions. If you remember the acronym PASS, which stands for pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep, it'll be easy to remember how to use a fire extinguisher. P-A-S-S. P. Pull the pin at the top of the extinguisher. The pin releases a locking mechanism and will allow you to discharge the extinguisher. A. Aim at the base of the fire, not the flames. This is important. In order to put out the fire, you must extinguish the fuel. S. Squeeze the lever slowly. This will release the extinguishing agent in the extinguisher. If the handle is released, the discharge will stop. S. Sweep from side to side. Using a sweeping motion, move the fire extinguisher hose back and forth until the fire is completely out. Operate the extinguisher from a safe distance, several feet away, then move toward the fire once it starts to diminish. Never turn your back on a fire. Even if the fire appears to be out, back away from it, slowly. Never position yourself in a manner that prevents you from escaping in the event that the fire grows. Know where your exit is and make sure you can get to it if you are unable to extinguish the fire. Anyone having questions regarding the use of fire extinguishers or any fire safety related issue should contact the Fire Safety Office. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate you taking off your busy schedules to join us today. So today we're going to talk about the 6 types and classes of fire. But before that, we must know what is fire and what causes fire.
Fire is a chemical reaction in which energy in the form of heat is produced. Basically, it needs a source of ignition, a source of fuel, and a source of oxygen. For example, if a smoker falls asleep with a cigarette still lit and sets fire through the sofa, the cigarette is a source of ignition. The materials on the sofa is a source of fuel, and the air is a source of oxygen. However, not every fires are the same. There are 6 different types of fires that have different hazards and risk.
The first one is a Class A fires, which involves solids. The types of fuels here can be papers, furnitures, fittings, and even structures of buildings. And the only type of extinguisher that you should use on a Class A fire is a water extinguisher. Good housekeeping helps in minimizing risks.
Second would be Class B, fires involving liquids. Fluids, liquids, and chemicals used in laboratories or workplaces can be flammable or explosive. It can be a cleaning detergent, solvent, paints, and other flammable liquids. The only extinguisher that can attack this type of fire is foam or powdered extinguisher. Another way to stop this from happening is to check regularly the legal requirements attached in any hazardous substances and check its labels and place it in a safe storage.
Third would be the Class D involving gases. This could be natural gases or LPG or any gases that form flammable or explosive atmosphere. The only type of extinguisher that attack this type of fire would be the power extinguisher. In mind that shutting off gas supply should be the first thing you do in type of fire.
Fourth will be the Class D, which involve metals. Some type of metals are like sodium. They're good conductors of fire. As soon as they melt, fire immediately spreads. The most advisable type of extinguisher that we can use when Class D fire ignites is dry powder extinguisher and dry earth or dry sand for small metal fires.
Fifth would be electrical fires. Electrical fires usually start in unchecked or damaged live areas. In attacking an electrical fire, you can use carbon dioxide or dry powder in low voltage situations, but always remember to turn off your power supply first. Monthly checking of electrical equipment can help to reduce the risk of this type of fire.
And last but not the least, the Class F fire, which involves in cooking fats and oils. This type of fire usually occurs in kitchen during cooking sessions. Spillages of flammable oils near hot sources can result in this type of fire ignition. Wet chemical extinguisher is the only type of extinguisher approved for this usage. As for small Class F fires, we can also use a fire blanket.
Oh, fire! Oh my goodness! What's the procedure? What do we do?
What to do when fire is detected. The fire department along with our team implemented a virtual seminar featuring speakers that will answer the question.
In the event of a fire, follow the measures within these following conditions, and your safety and the safety of others will be guaranteed. If you discover a fire inside a building, immediately implement RAVE. R for rescue. Rescue anyone in danger from the fire if it does not jeopardize your own life. A for alarm.
Sound the alarm by activating a pull station to set off the building fire alarm. C. For confine. Try to confine the fire by closing all doors and windows to trap the fire and slow its progress. E. For extinguish or evacuate. Extinguish the fire if possible if you know how to use a fire extinguisher. Evacuate the area if the fire is too big to put out.
If the fire alarm starts to sound, feel the door or doorknob to the hallway with the back of your hand. If it feels hot, do not open it. The fire may be on the other side of the door. If the door is not hot, open it slowly. If the hallway is clear of smoke, walk to the nearest fire exit and exit the building. Do not use elevators. Close doors behind you to delay the spread of fire. Notify arriving fire or police personnel if you suspect someone is trapped inside the building and where they may be located.
If you are trapped in a room or otherwise unable to leave, wet and place cloth material around and under the door to prevent smoke from entering the room. Be prepared to signal someone outside, but do not break glass until absolutely necessary because outside smoke may be drawn into the room.
If you are caught in smoke, drop to your hands and knees and crawl toward the exit. Stay low as smoke will rise to ceiling level. Breathe shallowly through your nose and use a filter such as shirt or towel.
If your clothes catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Stop immediately. Drop to the ground and cover your face with your hands. Roll over and over, back and forth until the fire is out.
This session is ending. Please keep your learnings in your pockets and use it for future emergency situations. Thank you for your participation and stay tuned for the next session.
Parang biro ang sunog. Mabilis kumalat na parang tunog, maraming epekto kahit tulog.
Mga dapat tandaan paghahanda sa panahon ng sunog. Ikaw ba ay nakahanda kung sakaling magkaroon ng sunog sa iyong lugar?
When a fire strikes, a lot of properties can be damaged. Financial loss, environmental damage, and sometimes there are casualties. A preparation for fire should include fire extinguisher before we experience inconceivable damages. People should be knowledgeable about the different types of fire extinguisher for different sources that causes a fire to start. Kung fire extinguisher ang sugutan, ayaw kalimti ang pulong na pass, meaning pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. Unsay pasabutan na? Taraw ba ko sa pagpasabot ninyo? Una ang pull the pin, next, aim at the base of the flare, then squeeze the top handle or lever, and lastly, sweep from side to side.
Types of fire extinguisher. Why is it important to learn about the types of fire extinguisher? It is for the reason that there are classes of fire, and a certain type of fire extinguisher can put out a fire depending on its class.
A different type of fire extinguisher are ABC powder fire extinguishers. The most common extinguishers to have on hand. This acts to blanket the fire and suffocate it. It is effective for Class A, B, and C fires. Carbon dioxide fire extinguishers is remove oxygen from the fire, effectively suffocating it is of fused oxygen. It is perfect for use on Class B fires. With chemical fire extinguishers. These extinguishers contain a solution composed of potassium that effectively launch and to prevent assault on fires. It is ideal of a kitchen setting and Class K fires. Water means fire extinguisher. The most versatile is release microscopic water molecule that fight the fire on variety of levels.
Foam fire extinguishers. They spray a type of foam that expands when it hits the air and blankets the fire. This blanket prevents the vapors from rising off the liquid to feed the fire, thus starving it of fuel. Clean agent fire extinguishers. Stored in its liquid form when it is sprayed and hits the air. It converts to its gas form, which is non-conductive, safe for use while humans are present. Og diha natapos akong pag-ambit kaninyo. Naghinaot ko na karong summer season, layo kita sa disgrasya, og unta na mo'y nakatunan karong adlaw. Daghang salamat sa pagsabot o pagpaminaw. Amping kanunay.
As our motto says, to save lives and properties, we, the Bureau of Fire Protection of Region 7, Cebu City, it is our duty to secure safety and enforce awareness, prevention, and elimination of all destructive fires on building structures and even vehicles. I believe there have been too many cases of fire outbreaks, maybe around the world or just here in the Philippines. Many circumstances have led to such tragedy, and we wouldn't want you to have and experience this unexpected death just because of negligence and incautiousness.
Many factors have been tallied as the source of a fire outbreak's occurrence. It'll surely be a bit of a stretch to put the blame on one cause of each ignition. But one thing's for sure, carelessness is the main root of these incidents.
Right, Mr. Sasan. The lack of awareness has been one of the major problems here in the Philippines. Aside from having a lot of steps to prevent fires outburst, what should we do if in case you get caught by a fire trap, especially if you're trapped inside a room?
Here are some of the safety steps that needs to be done if you got yourself stuck inside a room. Check to see if heat or smoke is coming in the cracks around the door. The mere point of this step is to check and see if there's fire on the other side.
And if in case you still find yourself getting trapped inside a room, and if you see smoke coming under the door, don't open it.
But if you don't see smoke, try touching the door. And if the door is hot or very warm, don't open it.
Always put it in mind that smoke isn't the only indication that there's a fire on the other side.
If you do not see any signs of a smoke's existence, and if the door isn't hot nor warm at all, try filling the doorknob with the back of your hand, not the palm, and if it is hot, never open the door.
If you feel like the room you're getting into has passed all of the steps, try opening the door very carefully. After slowly opening the door, if a burst of heat enters the room you're currently in, quickly shut the door and make sure that you have it carried closed.
But if after slowly opening the door and you have noticed there is no sign of fire's existence, open the door and go towards your escape route exit. This will only be applied if the factors stated on the steps were evident.
A fire outbreak can transpire at any time of the day, even at night, when we are most vulnerable, and we should never let our guards down.
Always be attentive. The occurrence of a fire outbreak might be preventable, but once it swallows a whole infrastructure, it may become unstoppable. A calamity will never say it's time of striking, nor will it spoon-feed everyone and give enough time for you to escape and be prepared. Through this information, you might be able to save not just yourself, but also others' lives as well.
Even if you're sleeping, keep your eyes open. The only way for us to be able to relax is go, as if we use our own actions under our control. Let us become the change we desperately need.
Stop dreaming, start doing.
Good day, everyone. I am Christine Joy Rizal from STEM A4.
And I am Evelyn T. Hortilano, and I would like to say thank you for being here with us and sorry for the delay. And I hope you will learn something of what we will be going to tackle about. For today's discussion, we will tackle about fire. A fire can start in an instant and continue to rage until its fuel source is depleted, destroying homes and property, causing injuries and taking lives within a matter of seconds. So, how does it affect to people who experience these happenings? Many people have experienced such situations wherein you could actually lose your lives, especially if it is an unexpected situation. Not only you could destroy your life that time, but it can also destroy your future. So, you must remember this, that if something will occur like this in your hometown or community, we should help each other and protect our lives and be mindful enough to fight this kind of situation. So how worse could it be? It can destroy not only your physical needs but also your mental health. Having to think where do you start from nothing again could blow your mind, most especially when you have children. You don't know where and who to go to need some help to survive again from scratch. Seiji, for extinguishing fire?
So, extinguishing fire. All fires can be extinguished by cooling, smothering, starving, or by interrupting the combustion process to extinguish the fire. One of the most common methods of extinguishing a fire is by cooling with water. The most common method for extinguishing a combustible metal fire is to cover the burning material with a dry powder, such as sand, which will not react with the material. To extinguish a fire, it is largely a matter of depriving the fire of one or more of these factors. So methods of extinguishing fire can be classified in terms of removing these factors. Cooling, smothering, starvation, or interrupting the combustion process may all be used to extinguish a fire. Cooling, limiting temperature by increasing the rate at which heat is lost from the burning material. Smothering, limiting oxygen by preventing air from reaching the set of the fire to allow the combustion process to reduce the oxygen content in the confined atmosphere until it extinguishes itself. Starving, limiting fuel by removing potential fuel from the vicinity of the fire, removing the fire from the mass of combustible materials, or by dividing the burning material into smaller fires can be extinguished more easily. Interrupting, inhibiting the chemical chain reaction by applying extinguishing media to the fire that inhibit the chemical chain reaction at the molecular level. When using these methods, you must use caution because the fire extinguisher will endanger the person's health. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Good morning, everyone. I am Felben Emberall, and welcome for today's webinar, Extinguish the Fire Right Away. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you would know how to participate in today's event. So since we are in ECQ and we are all encouraged to stay inside our home, face-to-face meetup are all prohibited. So we will do this event through Zoom, and all the attendees already had their links so that they can join. Make sure to have stable connection so that you can listen carefully and understand our presentation. You have the opportunity to ask questions by simply typing it in our chat box. You can ask questions during our presentation, and we will just read some of the questions and answer it after the presentation. I would now like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Clarence Arcangel, the most handsome guy in all STEM students in Southwestern University of Pinma, and the most responsible Vice Mayor of Grade 11 STEM A4.
So, well, thank you for that wonderful introduction of mine, Mr. Philbin Baral. I'm so flattered with it. So, today I'm going to present to you about extinguishing fire right away. So, I'm not going to hold you long. So, below are the extinguishing techniques that outline the proper way to use extinguisher in a fire. But before that, make sure you already know the different types of fire and its corresponding extinguisher. It's life-changing. The information provided here applies irrespective of the efficiency of the extinguisher or the size of the fire. So here are some ways to extinguish the fire right away. So first, attack the fire in the direction of the wind. When entering a structure or initiating fire attack, know the wind direction. Winds greater than 5 miles per hour will directly affect the rate at which the fire develops and potentially jeopardize the safety of the advancing crews. As the winds increase, the fire growth and speed of spread will increase too. So here's the proper way on how to extinguish it, and probably here's the incorrect way on extinguishing the fire. So secondly, extinguish liquid fires and fires caused by dripping substances from the top down. Note, do not attempt to extinguish a fire involving flammable gas unless there is a reasonable assurance the source of fuel can promptly shut off. In fact, if the only fuel burning is the leaking gas, the best method of extinguishing the fire is to shut off the fuel supply. Extinguishing a flammable gas fire without shutting off the fuel will allow unburned gas to escape into the atmosphere, which may permit a dangerous accumulation of gas to develop, and an explosion may occur if the gas is exposed to an ignition source. So here's the proper way to deal with it, and here's the incorrect way on dealing the fire. So next, for the fires in the walls, the reason it should be extinguished from the bottom up is at the base of any fire. This is where the fuel is and wherein you need to extinguish to prevent the fire from spreading. If you actually shoot at the flames, the fire will not put out forever and probably you will perish. So here's the proper way on dealing with it, and here's the incorrect way on dealing with the fire. Now, second to the last thing. Rather than using one extinguisher after another, use many at once. So all available fire extinguisher must be exhaust all at once to immediately to put off the fire and prevent it from spreading. If the fire extinguisher would be used one after another, it would lessen the time frame of fire's spread. So if ever there were the fire, use more than one, not only one, okay? So last, take into consideration any previous drafts. So consider all type of previous instances, whether inexperienced or not, as long as it regards to the occurrence. So after each use, replace the fire extinguishing spray. So in every use of each spray, replacing it instantly is very important so that you won't forget it, and you can also use it anytime, especially during emergency. So I'm encouraging each and everyone that we should practice fighting fires all by ourselves by educating ourselves the proper use of extinguisher agents so that we can prevent the damage, because small careless actions can quickly turn into life-threatening situations. So that's all. Thank you for having me today, and I hope you all understand my presentation. And yeah, God bless and take good care. Thank you.